Let's have a look at our players. First up for Canada, we have got Ryan Loseto, a name that some people may know. He was the finalist, one of the two finalists, sorry, in the Vancouver Regional this year. So clearly a very strong result from this season. He was also, as you mentioned, with Canada in the final of the World Cup of VGC last year. And he's also got top 16s and top 8s at other regionals like Atlantic City in 2020 and top 8 in Collinsville in 2019.
Oh, what a cool team he's got. Look at it. Ninetales, Baxcalibur, a snow team with Heatran, Ogerpon, Landorus, and Rillaboom. So Ninetales seeing a bit of use in this Regulation E format because, of course, it's the other snow user. And, of course, having that really fast Aurora Veil, which, it's just one turn as opposed to, say, something like Grimmsnarl having to set up light screens or Reflect taking 2 turns. So it's a really fast way to just bulk up your team, and there's some very bulky Pokemon here, Baxcalibur and Heatran, and also Landorus providing some Intimidate support. So, this is a very, very strong, kind of a bit slower in the team speed-wise, except for that Landorus with the Choice Scarf, but otherwise it's going to take a lot of hits to be knocking out these Pokemon.
I think people forget Ogerpon does have 110 base speed. It's not a slow Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh yes, I've forgotten.
But I do the same thing. I see Wellspring Ogerpon, and my first thought is that's really bulky and not that fast. Then looking at the stat block, I'm like, it's got 110 base speed. That thing is quick.
Oh yeah,
it's actually quicker than Ninetales somehow. But Ninetales has that Icy Wind as well, which can help to mitigate some of that slightly slower speed. And also Baxcalibur with that Scale Shot, a new tool that it got in the DLC, in the Tealmox DLC. We've seen a lot of that Swords Dance loaded dice set, like you said. Ninetales Baxcalibur has been picking up a bit in usage. We've seen it in top 8s in a couple of regionals. And as you mentioned, it's an easy way to get up 2 screens with Ninetales. It's a fast Aurora Veil setter, but also the new change to Snow as of this generation, the change from Hail, now gives that 50% defense boost to Ice type. So Baxcalibur has a much easier time setting up thanks to the Snow, even if the Aurora Veil doesn't go off.
Yes, and Baxcalibur... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying Baxcalibur also gets that defense boost from the Snow as well.
Yeah, so stuff to look out for here is definitely going to be that Baxcalibur setting up, and also the Encore on Ninetales is really interesting. It just means that if you go for something like a Fake Out, maybe to try and stop Baxcalibur going for an attack, that Fake Out can then get you locked into a move you can't continue using thanks to Encore. It also means it's dangerous to protect in front of Ninetales, for example. That's definitely going to be something to look out for Ryan's opponent. Let's have a look at what they are running and what their key achievements are.
Yes.
So we're looking at...
Guntur's got quite a really cool team. Also, actually, 2 Ninetales going off against each other. So let's just have a look at Guntur's achievements first of all. So, an Oceania player, or Indonesia, kind of APAC region, OCIC top 32 in 2020. And some of the achievements are maybe a little bit from older, kind of a bit, not quite as recent as Ryan's achievements, but still some really good achievements here. Sydney Regionals top 4, my home city over there. And looking at Guntur's team, also some very bulky Pokemon. Heatran, Okidogi, a very not very common at all. And then of course the Sinistra, a very cool ability in Hospitality, bringing back the HP of your opponents once it switches into the battle. So both teams are actually focusing quite a bit on bulk. So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of matchup we're going to be getting. And it looks like it's going to be less of a heavy offense and more of a kind of strategic tactical game where both players are going to try and chip away at the opponents and slowly knock down the HPs.
Yeah, Guntur's team is very interesting here. As you said, we've got the game mode that stands out to me initially is the Okidogi game mode. You've got the bulk up behind the Aurora Veil with the support of Strength Zap. Strength Zap obviously helps, but Rage Powder from Sinistra keeping attacks away from it. That Hospitality ability, healing 25% to Okidogi if Sinistra switches in next to it. That seems like the most obvious game plan here, but we can't forget there's also a Tornadus and a choice-banded Urshifu on this team from Guntur. So, especially into something like Ryan's team, where he might want to try and set up with screens, the ability to just click Wicked Blow and crit through screens is going to be very, very dangerous. But I think, strangely, the Okidogi looks like it has a very strong matchup here. It hits 5 of Ryan's 6 Pokemon for super effective damage with its Poison Jab and its Drain Punch, both moves that are boosted by that same type attack bonus. And the one Pokemon that is not weak to either of those attacks, the Landorus, doesn't want to switch in on Okidogi because that Intimidate will set off the Guard ability and give that Okidogi an attack boost. So it'll be interesting to see if Guntur goes for that bulkier route with Okidogi or says, okay, I can just set up Tailwind and I'm going to smack you with Wicked Blow.
Yeah, it's looking like quite an even match between both of these teams. And I believe our game one is going to be ready. So we're going to be jumping into that very, very shortly now. And here we are. So we have the players, I think that's Guntur leading with the Ninetales and Heatran. And it will be Ryan leading with the Heatran and Ogerpon.
So I think this is a slightly more positive lead for Ryan, just because that Ogerpon is putting a lot more pressure on than the Ninetales is for Guntur, but this seems like a pretty free Aurora Veil for Ninetales here. So if it is that Okidogi in the back, for example, that then suddenly is putting that Okidogi in a very strong position to start setting up. But what we can't ignore, actually, which we didn't address in the team preview, was this Ivy Cudgel. And we see Ryan looks like he's going to lock in that Terra Water immediately. Ivy Cudgel has a high critical hit rate. So more often than most attacks, it's just going to ignore any Aurora Veil. It's going to ignore any bulk up boosts on this Okidogi. That is going to be a very threatening move to play around because Guntur can't really sit in front of it safely.
No, he cannot. And we see a Terrestrialization coming up immediately onto that Ogerpon with the Embody aspect, giving it a +1 special defense boost. So it's going to be taking hits from both the special Ninetales and the Heatran very, very well. Of course, we see that I think the Heatran actually is going to protect from Orion's side, maybe just trying to scout out for any Earth powers coming off, but Aurora Veil, as you mentioned earlier, very free to set up, and is going to be helping Guntur's side to be making all his Pokemon very, very bulky.
We can see the Ivy Cudgel come out here. I don't know if this kills without a crit. It does kill without...
Like
oh, it just gets the crit. There you go. I summoned it into existence. That's the commentator's curse there.
Yes.
But like I said, the high crit rate on Ivy Cudgel is going to be a problem for Guntur here. There's always the risk that you're going to be able to crit through there, but you see the Urshifu now.
Oh yes, now this Urshifu, Terra Dark, and it's not going to be taking any super effective hits from either the Ogerpon or the Heatran. So, Urshifu in a pretty nice position to be landing really strong hits. And of course, neither Pokemon can actually protect in front of this Urshifu because it's very, very powerful ability, Unseen Fist. So, Guntur hasn't got quite lost the Heatran, of course, but the Urshifu is in a very good position. We see that Terra Dark coming off, just giving that choice band, Terra Dark Urshifu, just some really strong Wicked Blows coming out.
It's a lot of damage being threatened here by the Urshifu. We see the follow me from Ogerpon not wanting the Heatran to have to deal with this big damage. I think the big issue is Ninetales is not threatening very much here. We see the Blizzard come out, and that is a total of 24 damage across both Pokemon, which is not very much. But the Banded Wicked Blow is going to come out, take out that Ogerpon. That crit was not luck. That is guaranteed on Wicked Blow. Ogerpon goes down in almost one hit. It's basically a one-hit KO.
Yeah, I don't think that Blizzard matter, although I think Guntur might just be trying to fish for a freeze button because the Heatran actually gets a burner from that Heat Wave, doing really good damage onto that Ninetales. I think, the Aurora Veil is coming in quite clutch for that Ninetales because I don't think it would have been able to survive that Heat Wave otherwise, or if it did, it would have been knocked down to a much, much lower health.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit fortunate there for Guntur that Ryan hit and burned the Ninetales, rather than hitting and burning the Urshifu. Definitely
yes.
The way around that Guntur would have preferred there. This Urshifu's still on full health, no burns on it. This Wicked Blow,
and the
Ninetales
switching in
scary.
for Ryan here
if we look at the Terra type on the Heatran on... Oh, sorry, he's already used his Terrestrialization, hasn't he? He got greedy with the Ivy Cudgel on turn 1, and then the Terrestrialization didn't matter because he got the crit anyway.
The Ninetales is quite free now on Ryan's side to set up its own Aurora Veil, and because that Aurora Veil is coming in a few turns later, it means that Ryan is going to get his screens up high. Of course, that's not going to matter in front of this Urshifu, which is guaranteed crit. So, because we see that Ryan just going straight away for that Moonblast to try and get rid of this Urshifu before it can deal out any more Wicked Blows. And here's another one.
Take out the Heatran.
Yeah.
It is. Heatran goes down, and now this Sinister is in a good position because it can redirect those Moonblasts away from the Urshifu. And we see here, we've just got the Backscaler in the back for Ryan. So this will be at least one free attack from Ryan, as Sinister will redirect. Probably one pair of Ice-type moves away from this Urshifu. But the Icy Wind speed drop from Ninetales here potentially going to make that Backscalibur faster, which means that once the Sinister goes down, still not a fantastic spot for Guntur, and it may come down to whose Ninetale is faster in this matchup.
Oh yeah, Ninetales now going for the Icy Wind, so reading that Rage Powder and just wanting to make sure to get some sort of damage on that Urshifu. I'm really curious if the Wicked Will, of course, we're going to see the Backscalibur go for that Icicle Spear or the Sinistcha first. I think that's a Citrus Berry Sinistcha, so it might...
is.
Yeah,
this is not going to kill with the Veil and the Citrus Berry. This Sinistcha is sitting pretty here. Which does mean that Urshifu will have one more Moonblast redirected away from it, and potentially also another Icicle Spear. So it's looking like Urshifu may be able to just smack a bunch of stuff here, and again, it may come down to whose Ninetale is faster.
Yeah, ooh, that Backscalibur actually survives it thanks to the defense boost from the Hail. You know, this is a Banded Terra Dark Urshifu with a critical hit Wicked Blow. So, you know, really, really strong hit. Because I think the defense boost offered from Hail to all the ice types is not really a stat boost. So it does actually factor into any attacks coming into it, which is, I think, why that Backscalibur was able to survive. But of course, that Sinistcha...
You can't critical hit through the Snow Boost, yeah.
Yeah, that Sinistcha, of course, is still on the field, so can keep that Urshifu safe from another Moonblast from this Ninetales. So I think, you know, Guntur, I think, is in quite a strong position. So unless this Ninetales can pull something out on its own, I think game one is probably going to go to Guntur.
Maybe a little bit early to call it now. We do see the Rage Powder coming out from the Sinistcha.
Oh, there's Icy Wind, I forget.
Yeah, Icy Wind's come out here, but the Backscalibur will go down this turn. It'll take out the Sinistcha here. But Backscalibur will be going down. The problem is, I don't know if another Icy Wind is going to take out this Urshifu from Ryan's Ninetales, which means that Guntur's Ninetales does have an advantage in that it will get one attack off before Ryan's Ninetales does. And also, Ryan does not have a Roar Veil up yet, I think is very worth noting here.
Oh,
so I think it may have been a sensible move from Ryan last turn, knowing that he wasn't going to pick up the KO on the Urshifu with the Icy Wind or on the Sinistcha, but that he would pick it up with the Icicle Spear. Maybe last turn he could have set up an Aurora Veil for himself, just because otherwise you're not getting much value out of it otherwise, because you're always going to Moonblast the Urshifu here. Maybe set up the Aurora Veil for himself, try and get himself out of range of potentially a couple of Moonblast crits. I think Guntur's Ninetales is low enough that it probably won't make much of a difference. That special attack drop could, though. The Urshifu will go down here, but that special attack drop may be buying Guntur's Ninetales.
I spoke way too soon. I think I forgot that the Ninetales
is the faster of the two.
Yeah, I forgot that Ninetales on the back of Guntur was actually quite heavily chipped. In my head, it was full health, so I thought, Ninetales versus Ninetales. But it looks like...
It's also burned.
And I think it was actually quite unfortunate when the Hail ended that turn for Guntur. I think he probably actually might have preferred Hail not being set up so that the Urshifu... Well, actually, no, I don't think the Hail actually mattered at any point.
Yeah, no, it don't matter there. Oh, Ninetale's going to cling on, but this burn may be the thing that seals it now. The burn chip over time, just enough damage now that another Moonblast from Ryan's Ninetales will kill. Do we get a crit from Guntur here? We don't. And another special attack drop, but that's not going to matter. Another Moonblast from Ryan's Ninetales, picking off Guntur's Ninetales. A Ninetales versus Ninetales endgame, but the chip damage from the early game just too much for Guntur's Ninetales to overcome.
That'll be really cool to see Okidogi coming, because I've never seen it in any sort of stream matches, so that'll be something really cool. And I think our game 2 is ready, so we're going to be jumping into that very, very shortly. So it looks like Guntur is going to go completely different with the Tornadus and Urshifu, but Ogerpon and Heatran still for Ryan's side.
Going the opposite way to what I expected. Instead of saying, I'm going to go for a bulkier approach, Guntur deciding, no, in fact, the problem was I wasn't going fast enough and I wasn't doing enough damage. So I'm just going to go for my Tornadus and my Urshifu, and I'm going to be faster than you, and I'm going to hit harder than you, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yes, and we saw in that last game that Choice Banded Terra Dark Urshifu hits so hard. This Ogerpon is going to be withdrawn from Ryan, maybe just, not wanting to lose it to any really strong Wicked Blows straight up. And Ninetales is going to switch in, so that is going to resist Dark type move from this Urshifu if it does go into it. And we do see Guntur going for that Terra Dark on that Urshifu. So let's see what kind of target it clicks on and whether or not it takes a KO.
Well, I think we also saw the Terra Fairy come out from the Heatran here. We did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's going to be a problem now for Guntur. This is what I was saying during the break. This Urshifu strategy, it got a lot of mileage last game, but that is because Ryan used his Strategization on turn 1 in order to try and get a quick KO on that Heatran. But now, saving that Strategization instead for Heatran this game, that Wicked Blow, doing a good chunk of damage still, but not doing a huge amount. And now there are 2 Pokemon on the field that potentially survive another Wicked Blow from this Urshifu, and Ninetales is on the field threatening with that very dangerous Moonblast again. Ooh. A big Heat Wave from this Life Orb Heatran, taking around 75% of Urshifu's health, about half of Tornadus is just over. And now this is a dangerous spot again, because this Choice Banded Urshifu, even though it has that... Oh, it doesn't have Poison Jab, apologies. I misread the team sheet. Never mind, no Poison Jab. This Urshifu is in a rough spot here, I think. Tailwind could go up from Guntur, but the combination of Blizzard and Heat Wave is going to pick up either of these Pokemon, or both of these Pokemon, in fact. I think this is not a great offensive position for Guntur now.
Yeah, the Urshifu, if it does target that Heatran, might be able to knock it out, but of course it's actually just gonna withdraw. I wonder if it's an Okidoki coming. Oh no, it's a Heatran. It's still a very good switch-in, because it's gonna absorb any Heat Waves or any Ice-type moves. Oh, and that Rain Dance coming off from Guntur, very cool play. Trying to stop in the Roar Rail, but of course the Heatran takes that Moonblast incredibly well, and a very nice switch-in from Guntur.
Yeah, but Heatran switching working out very nicely. The Rain Dance as well, allowing Tornadus to survive that Heat Wave. We saw it did a bit over half last time. So without that Rain Dance, that Tornadus is going down. But now instead it survives. And as a bonus, it's got 100% accuracy on those dangerous Bleak Wind Storms. And we get the Heatran in with a Flash Fire boost on Guntur's side. Maybe not too relevant in the rain, but maybe relevant once the rain goes down. And this Ninetales is not really doing any damage to the Heatran here.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that the Heatran did dodge a Bleak Wind Storm earlier, so actually I think because of that dodge, it was able to stay on the field and still do quite a bit of damage with that Life Orb, because Ogerpon is going to come in and is going to want to take advantage of that rain that's just been set up by the Heatran, not the Heatran, the Tornadus, but Flash Cannon coming out, knocking out that Heatran on just a sliver of HP, making sure that it can't go for any more Heat Waves or Earth Powers.
Yeah, I think that's a really big pickup from Guntur there, because, as we were saying earlier, the big threats to this Urshifu that we have in the back end, pressing those Terra Dark Wicked Blows, are the Fairy types. And one of the Fairy types is now down, which means there will always be a slot on the field that is not occupied by a Dark Resist. So this is a nice play, I think, especially now with 3 turns of Tailwind still left, to open up the way for this Urshifu a little bit more. The question is, has Guntur taken a bit too much damage in the process of setting up this position for the Urshifu? Having used his Terror as well, this Heatran is really under threat from the Ogerpon's Ivy Cudgel. Obviously, Ogerpon has to be a little worried about these Bleak Wind Storms, and even a Heat Wave from Heatran is going to do a lot of damage to it here with the Flash Fire boost.
Yes.
But, I don't know, it's a strange situation now. A lot riding on these next couple of turns. The Bleak Wind Storm comes out.
Oh,
this is the Ogerpon!
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate for Guntur. Ninetales getting a speed drop, not really bothering too much, but Heat Wave coming out actually does quite a bit of damage to that Ogerpon. It's quite good solid damage. Ninetales getting knocked out without being able to. I don't think it actually managed to. Did it get an attack off?
Oh, Heatran lives!
Oh, that's huge for the player, knowing that the Heatran actually lives without the critical hit. And the Baxcalibur is going to come in now just to take advantage of that snow. It's going to be, it's not going to really care too much against both these special type attackers, but Baxcalibur, of course, does have a real, it's going to, well, both of these Pokemon on Guntur's side are just so heavily chipped that any type of attack is going to be able to pick up the knockout. But of course, Ogerpon is also very, very low health. One more Heat Wave is actually just going to be able to knock it out, and both players are taking the time to think, but Spiky Shield coming off that Ogerpon, just trying to preserve it for one more turn.
Second from both, in fact, just trying to stall out a turn of Tailwind here. Guntur has the opportunity to go for a Rain Dance. Instead goes for Taunt. I think Rain Dance could have been nice there just to maybe get rid of that defense boost on the Baxcalibur from the snow. But also, Heatran wants to be pressing these big Heat Waves, and Guntur deciding he wants to stop a potential Swords Dance from this Baxcalibur.
Yes, Heatran's
a
only
lot
really...
riding on a double connect on this Heatran here. One last turn of Tailwind for Guntur. Can this Heatran make the most of it? I think Ryan also here, we saw clicked into double Spiky Shield on the Ogerpon. If that goes off, that really changes how this game looks.
Oh yeah, so let's see now. I think players are taking their time trying to make sure that they click the right moves for Guntur. He cannot lose this game, but Ogerpon going for Spiky Shield.
No Spiky Shield
going
double.
To fail. So we're going to see the Blue Crystal
double connect.
Picks up the knockout on this Ogerpon, and Baxcalibur now cannot really do too much to this Heatran, which resists both the Ice and Dragon type attacks. And Flash Cannon coming out super effective against the Ice type. And Guntur
goes down.
It's going to take game 2, and we're going to go into a game 3.
Interestingly from Guntur there, Ryan played a lot more heavily around that Urshifu lead. Very scared, for obvious reasons, of those Pterodactyl choice banded Wicked Blows. We saw how much damage those could do in game 1. There's a lot of options for Guntur. I think Guntur is the one who's playing more proactively in this matchup, in that he is the one who's having to force Ryan to respond. So it's an interesting dynamic going into this third game. I'll be very interested to see if Ryan switches up that lead to bring something that can threaten the Urshifu a little bit more in the front.
Yeah, that was quite an offensive game 2, and I think our game 3 is going to be ready. So we're going to jump into that quite shortly, and we're going to see whether our players make an adjustment. It's going to be Tornado's Urshifu, again the same leads from Guntur, but Ninetales and Heatran this time from Ryan's side, so maybe wanting to set up his own Aurora Veil just to make sure that his Pokemon don't take damage. But of course, also Urshifu actually just going to ignore any Aurora Veil, so maybe just wanting to use the Ninetales as some sort of offensive threat against that Urshifu as well.
Yeah, and again, this is what I was saying, leading a Pokemon that threatens that Urshifu a lot more means that it can't just sit in and get a free Wicked Blow. Because even though the Heatran did go for that Terra Fairy last game to take the Wicked Blow hit pretty comfortably, it still had to take the Wicked Blow hit without much threat on the Urshifu. But now with that Ninetales on the field threatening a Moonblast, the Urshifu is in a much more difficult spot. And I think also the Icy Wind is going to be a problem for this Tornadus. The Tailwind that it's trying to set up going to be made a bit less effective by the Icy Wind speed drops.
Oh yeah, the Urshifu is actually going to recognize the danger. It's in.
There he is!
He's going to come back in. I'm so excited to see that rain. We willed it into existence. Yay. The Rain Dance coming out from Tornadus. Moonblast coming in. Ooh, that was pretty good. That took a lot.
And the double up into the Okidogi slot, and Okidogi's already
what
gone.
What a read. Oh, poor
well,
doggy.
it was fun while it lasted. That Okidogi, and I'll tell you, it didn't last very long.
No, it did not. What a read from Guntur. Oh, sorry, not from Ryan, but I think also realizing, just judging by the damage that Moonblast did to a Terra Dark Urshifu, I think Ryan knew it was quite safe to double into that Urshifu and be able to pick up the knockout. Of course, had the Urshifu had gone for a close combat onto the Heatran, it might have been a different story, but it's not really something you really want to risk against a Pokemon that can Terra Fairy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the Urshifu is running Choice Band, so it doesn't have access to Protect. It's also not running a defensive Terra type. So like you said, the only switch into a Moonblast on Guntur's team, unless he brought the Sinistcha this time round, which didn't really do anything for him in game 1. The only Fairy Resist there are going to be the Heatran and the... Well, Okidogi's not Resist. The only things that are switching into it are Heatran or Okidogi, and both of those are covered very nicely by that Earth Power. So it's really, really nice option coverage for Ryan, saying, I don't think your Urshifu's staying in. If it does, it is still going to faint, and if it doesn't, whatever comes in is going to faint in its place.
Ooh, very nice.
And now it's a very bad spot.
Oh,
oh, the Encore! Oh, that Tornadus is now stuck clicking Tailwind.
Yes, that Tornadus is probably going to want to switch out, and Heatran not really going to be in the best of positions against this Ogerpon in the rain, which means that its Ivy Cudgel is going to be boosted by that rain. We see that Terra coming off from Ryan's side, taking advantage of that rain, just going for that Ivy Cudgel onto the Tornadus, knowing that it's either going to switch out or it's going to get knocked out by the rain that it's set up for that Ogerpon.
Yeah, this is... That turn 1 really, I think, almost won the game for Ryan on the spot there. The Encore on turn 2, very sensibly locking that Tornadus into Tailwind. And now either the Urshifu comes in, like you said, takes that Terra-boosted Ivy Cudgel with the rain, and probably faints, or Tornadus stays in. All it can do is click Tailwind again, that faints, and then the Urshifu just comes in next turn instead. You've still got that Terra Fairy Heatran potentially in the back.
Yes,
but we do see, like you said, the Terra from the Ogerpon.
And Ogerpon now being just pure water type, and also getting a special defense boost means that Guntur's Heatran is not really going to be able to do very much to this Ogerpon. So now we're going to see Ogerpon, and we're going to see whether or not a Flash Cannon, of course, is going to come out first onto the Heatran times 4 resistance. So not really going to do too much. And here's the Ivy Cudgel in the rain. Is this going to pick up the knockout on this Choice Band Urshifu? And it's just a straight up knockout without the critical hits. So Guntur now down to his final 2 Pokemon, whereas Ryan's still got all 4 of his Pokemon healthy. So you know, quite a heavily dominant kind of few turns that's played out, and not sure how Guntur can kind of fight his way back out of this.
And both of Guntur's Pokemon here lacking Protect. We've got Assault Vest Heatran, and we've got Cobalt Tornadus with 4 attacks. And this Terastallization, like you said, removing that Grass type not only helps against the Heatran, but removes the weakness to Bleakwind Storm. So Tornado's not really threatening that much damage either. Ryan is pretty free to just pick which slot he wants to get a KO on here with that Ivy Cudgel. Bleakwind Storm is going to come out. Let's see how much damage this does.
Oh, it's not too much.
That hurt.
That special defense boost. Oh, it does get a speed drop, so maybe a crit. Oh, but no, Earth Power went into the wrong target. So we can see that Ivy Cudgel now coming out from this Ogerpon. Is that going to be enough to pick up the knockout? I think it will be. And Tornadus actually.
That is a bulky Tornadus.
Surviving it, but I think the options are quite limited for Guntur at this stage. And you see, you know, Ninetales maybe coming in, maybe wanting to set up an Aurora Veil later on down the road. But I think, you know, this Ogerpon, it's the Ogerpon's match right now. You can just pick a target and just start swinging.
It's big stick. As you said, I think limited options is the name of the game here for Guntur. Ryan's still got all 4 of his Pokemon left alive and kicking, all pretty healthy as well. We saw the Bleakwind Storm from that Tornadus did a really sad amount of damage to that Ogerpon. It hurt me to watch, but it didn't hurt the Ogerpon at all. And even with that speed drop, I don't think a critical hit, another speed drop in fact, I don't think a critical hit from his Earth Power, even if it went into the Ogerpon, was going to be picking up the KO here. So we are going to see, like you said, another free Ivy Cudgel into a slot of Ryan's choosing. Gonna take out the Tornadus. No more speed control from Guntur. And it's just Heatran versus the world, and I think my money is on the world here.
Yes, I think there's not much. The Ninetales can set up a Aurora Veil, and it looks like it's just gonna go for that. There's an Icy Wind on that Heatran. I think he clicked a bit too fast for me to see what happened, but it looked like an Icy Wind going off into the Heatran. Of course, the Heatran being Terra Fairy now on Guntur's side no longer resists any Ice type moves, so you know there might be a universe where the Ninetales might actually be doing a lot of damage and might even pick up the knockout.
Not into an Assault Vest. That's not very much at all, but the speed drop means that this Ogerpon is, even with those 2 Bleakwind Storm speed drops, going to be outspeeding this Heatran. And it also guarantees, I don't know if you've seen the speed interaction between the 2 Heatrans this game, but it just guarantees that Ryan's Heatran in the back is going to outspeed Guntur's Heatran here. So now this Heatran does have to deal with, even though it picks up the Ninetales, it does have to deal with that Ivy Cudgel from the Ogerpon, as well as a super effective Flash Cannon from a Life Orb Heatran here.
Oh yeah, that's. I think
I'd love to be an optimist, but I think there's no way back from Guntur in this situation.
No, not even a crit can really save, because the Heatran will be moving second. So I think you know we're gonna watch this match play out, but Ryan has very, very dominantly taken this game 3 with a fantastic predict on that game 1. You know, just doubling up into that Urshifu, Earth Power knocking out the poor Okidogi, basically forcing Guntur to play a 3v4 just from the get-go. And of course, I think after that turn 1, which was very disastrous for Guntur, I think it was quite hard to kind of come back for that.